Welcome to episode 5, In Groove. I'm so excited, are you?
I'm excited.
Groove.
The music podcast.
It is a music podcast, and you know what it focuses on? Discussions of music. What else? Everything from the bestsellers to the unknowns. No coughing on the show, please. And everything in between. On this episode, I'm joined by always our sometimes lovely co-host, Ben.
Sometimes?
You're always here, but you're only sometimes lovely.
Okay.
Hey, I'm taking that as a compliment.
And Dan.
Thanks, guys.
And I'm Jarrod White. And today we're doing our album picks, Volume 2. We did this format on the last show.
And we liked it very much.
Yeah, we liked how it worked. It gave us some opportunity to listen to more stuff and have more discussions, back and forth. And so we're doing it again. Yeah, talk about different genres, different bands, and maybe bands and artists that don't fit into a genre perfectly, so we get an opportunity to discuss them.
Yeah.
Basically how this works, as I'll say it, like I said it last time because it wasn't confusing at all, we each recommended one album for each other. So I recommended an album for Ben and Dan, Dan recommended an album for Ben and I, and Ben recommended an album for Dan and I. And like I said last time, because that wasn't confusing, we're going to go ahead with that. So basically everyone recommended an album for someone else, and we tried to pick albums that they hadn't heard, or maybe something they weren't familiar with, or something that they might not have listened to otherwise, to get their reactions and to facilitate discussion.
Yeah, discussion. Yeah.
So last time we had some hits, some misses, some slight disappointments, some surprises, some stuff that really impressed people. So we had a good mixing of different types of reactions. So I'm hoping for a similar kind of thing to go on in this show, and I think that's what's going to happen. So let's just kick it right off with Ben is going to take it off this time with the album that I recommended.
Can you kick it? No. Can you kick it? No.
Your answer is yes, you can.
God. Okay. So, Jarrod recommended me the Throbbing Gristle's 20 Jazz Funk Greats, released in December 1979, and they're considered like an industrial kind of band and whatnot.
Well, they were the band that started industrial. They were the first industrial band.
And
industrial, okay.
Before I talk about it, let's just appreciate that album cover. As soon as you see it, you hear the name 20 Jazz Funk Greats, and it's just like a couple people standing in a field and whatnot. You're like, this is gonna be all right. This is gonna be.
Do you know what field that is?
Beachy Head.
Beachy Head.
Which is the name of the second track.
Do you know why they're at Beachy Head?
Why are they at Beachy Head?
Because Beachy Head is the #1 suicide spot in the world.
Wow!
And
I know that.
There's an alternate version of this cover where lying in front of them in the grass is a dead body.
Oh, what state is this in?
It's somewhere. It's somewhere in England.
Oh, it's in England.
They're a British band.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. As soon as I see it, I'm just like.
It's a great album cover.
I don't know what to take from it, because it's considered it is the first industrial kind of album, and I see it, I'm just like, okay, we'll see where this goes, and wow man, right from the beginning, it's like it's such an intriguing sound that they give off that it hooked me. It grabbed me immediately. The first song or two, it immediately hooked me to this very eerie and very unsettling atmosphere that they present to you, and it has this very ambient sound to it. There's all these different things happening throughout the entire album. Not one song sounds alike. It always gives off this very disturbing kind of sound to it. And on it, I listened to it by myself, and I'm just getting like kind of the chills and whatnot, just listening to it. The chills, but then also when the vocals come in too, they're soft and they're eerie, and it was very peculiar just listening to what they had to say. It was, I want to say, Hot on the Heels of Love. That's where the woman's vocals come in, and it has like this kind of seducing tone to it. I feel like that's what they were going after. It was seducing, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't want the Heels of Love right now. It was very disturbing, but Even though it had this very disturbing feel to it, I honestly loved listening to it. It's not something that I'm going to go back to in like a few days and like, oh, I should listen to this again. But I really enjoyed listening to all of it. And this is their first full studio album, because the other ones were like live and studio stuff.
Well, what they used to do is they only did a very small number of live shows, and they recorded personally every one of them. So they have like a bunch of live albums, and it's you can listen to every single Throbbing Gristle concert they released themselves as a live disc. So this was their first studio album.
And what a hell of an experiment! Their first studio album. They're just like, let's create something completely different and everything. And they created industrial music like this, and it's one hell of a trip just listening to this, man. It was eerie. It was a bit unsettling, but you know what? It all sounded astounding. I would say
astounding.
I thought this was fan-flippin-tastic.
I'm a big fan of this record as well. Hot on the Heels of Love is, I mean, now that I'm thinking it, probably one of the most influential songs ever recorded. Because
really,
I mean, just think. Can you think of anything that came before that sounds like that? Like,
no.
That's sort of the birth of, dance-based electronic music.
Yeah.
That track, just the kind of synth patterns they were laying down, and the beat, and like the vocals, think of the big beat stuff from the 90s, like Prodigy and the Chemical Brothers. This is like the godfather of that.
Yeah.
My favorite song on here, though, definitely is Persuasion.
Took it out of my mouth, man.
Yeah, is that your favorite too?
I thought it had either that or like I like convincing people a lot.
Yeah, those two are thematically linked.
Yeah.
But Persuasion, I've put that on repeat a few times and just listened to it, 10, 15 times in a row. But it is so fucking creepy.
It is. The whole album, the other I would say the second creepiest is Beachy Head.
Yeah.
That's like the second creepiest one on there. But I love the vocals from, what is it, Genesis PR?
P. Orange, yeah, that's the lead guy.
So it's so interesting and peculiar that it kind of just looks you in and like, this isn't bad or good. I just think it's just really, really interesting.
Yeah, Persuasion, a song about a really, really scummy porno photographer trying to convince this young girl had to take, nude pictures for him. And all these really, really messed up, really seedy things he says, all your friends are doing it.
It's
and
so
the voice he uses
creepy.
But it's also extremely catchy.
Yeah.
And the guitar in it is very, like, you gravitate right towards it. It's like, ooh, yeah. Yeah, the guitar is just, like, shrill and piercing, but it grabs you.
I love songs that they give you really good instrumental stuff, but then all of a sudden the lyrics come in and you're just like, I didn't expect this at all with all the other background noise, and all of a sudden someone's vocals come in like, oh wow, this subject matter, or I did not expect this to come up. The perfect example is still Girlfriend in a Coma. So catchy. Girlfriend in a Coma, and you're just like, oh, this is so sad, but I want to listen to it again and again and again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this whole 20 jazz funk greats, I love
that the first track is called 20 Jazz Funk Greats. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. It was something, man. It was definitely one of the more intriguing and more surrealistic albums I've listened to in quite some time. I was very intrigued by it. Overall, I give it a very high 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I'm at a 4.5. It's really something. It's not something you listen to every day.
Yeah,
but I've come back to it periodically, quite a few times, and it always holds up.
Because there was like a part of me that was like, maybe I should just pause it for a little bit and then I'll come back and finish it. But I'm so hooked. I want to see where else this album goes. So that stuff like that, an album that hooks you with all of its, even if it's creepy and eerie like that, if it hooks you like that, you got something special there.
Yeah, they're a really interesting band, really great band that has a lot of good tracks.
Gotta check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the song.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of. They have a song on their album DOA called Hamburger Lady. That's a really good song. And their most recent studio album, it's called Part 2. That one is really good too, and brings avant-garde jazz of all things into their equation. So if you ever wanted to hear hardcore industrial fused with trumpet playing that sounds like Ornette Coleman, the man himself, check that one out.
Wow.
But 20 Jazz Funk Greats, I recommended it to you because that's the one I think to start with. That's probably their most famous, their most classic, their most concise and perfect package.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be looking at some other of their stuff. Wow, that was some. But does this sound? Does this sound like something that you'd actually sit down and give it a try?
Yeah.
Even if it's like this really unsettling, eerie feeling.
Yeah. Well, give it a chance.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, do you want to take it off with your recommendation from Ben?
Okay. Yes. I would love to. Okay, so the album.
Me.
Okay, so Ben recommended me this album by Childish Gambino.
It's 3005.
Childish Gambino.
He's a fucking nerd.
Yes, you guys might know him as Troy from Community.
Nope.
Was that his name?
Yeah,
I don't know him as that.
Oh, okay. Well,
and I also don't know him as a writer from 30 Rock.
For 30 Rock. But, just, that's what he did before. And
hey, he's in the rap game now.
He is in the rap
serious
game.
artist.
He left Community to join the rap game.
Yeah, at first he took a condensed thing, like the last season he was on 5 out of the 13 episodes or something, and now he's gone.
I think Chevy Chase pushed him to the edge.
He's a serious artist now.
Yes. And and overall,
he's coming. Sorry, but he's coming to Boston Calling. If anybody's in the area, the Saturday show.
Yeah.
It's him and Lord. But go on.
So if you guys are listening out there,
What? Yeah,
Him and Lord?
Yeah, he's.
Oh, geez.
He's second on Saturday. He's second.
So you guys out in Alaska listening, get a plane ticket over to Boston just to see Childish Gambino
And Lord.
and
Because I know you want to see the Lord.
Yep.
Lord. Yeah.
Lord.
Okay. So getting back to Childish Gambino, overall,
Wait, you haven't even introduced the album.
it's called Because the Internet.
Because the Internet.
It came out last December.
Yep, December 10th.
Yep.
2013.
And it came out in 2013. Overall, pretty good album.
Pretty good.
Pretty good album. I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, I would give it that too.
I love his flow.
Oh yeah.
He's definitely, I think, one of the best rappers out there now.
Right now, yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Oh no,
He's good. He's a good rapper, yeah.
I like him.
I'll say
agree.
his flow is good. Sometimes his lyrics are like, oh, come on, man. You gotta be kidding me. Like, the line where he says, girl, why you be lying? Girl, why you Mufasa? Like, that's embarrassing.
I love that,
Like, that's really, really bad wordplay. But sometimes he pulls out a winner. I think on some of the tracks
Why
on
you
here,
Mufasa?
he, like, pulls it off the whole time.
Yeah.
Other ones, it's a bit hit and miss. But I do like his flow.
I'm going to name a few standout tracks from the album. The Worst Guys is one of the standout tracks in my book. All she needed was
Chance the Rapper.
All she needed was
Chance the Rapper. All she needed was it.
That was
All she needed was it. All she needed was it.
Yeah,
Yeah, with Chance the Rapper, who dropped his internet exploding free mixtape, Acid. What was it called? Acid Jazz, Acid Rap.
I'm not
Acid-
sure.
Acid Jazz Rap.
Acid Rap. It was called Acid Rap. Worth a look.
Yeah.
Um,
But I love, and the beats, I really like the beats on the album.
the beats are really interesting. Very
Very modern.
dense.
Yeah.
Very shifting. They're always like sort of changing. There isn't like one like lay down a beat and just spit over a track on this.
Yeah.
Every song is kind of expanding.
Yeah,
It's
progressing.
a very it's a very abstract kind of
abstract.
approach to where he was going.
Yeah, so that's...
I love the lyric on The Crawl. It's
That's a good track.
we ain't gonna sing the same old love song. Could a white girl with the same black gloves on? Yeah, what you saying to it? And I'm just like, that was so good. I was like, oh, sorry, but
that line's very... That
It's almost as good when you deliver it.
yeah.
So,
I like the crawl a lot.
Yeah.
It's a good
The Crawl.
opener.
But the one that really I was listening to it with my brother was in the house when I was listening to it. It's Pink Toes.
That's a good one.
Sunshines and rainbows, and it's like my brother's just walking around the house. He's like,
sunshine,
this is stuck in my head.
rainbows, flowers, smiley faces.
Yeah, it's a bit of it's a really silly song, but I think that's what he was going for.
And I believe this next song was mentioned earlier by Jarrod, 3005. That's another standout.
Yeah, that was the lead off single off the album, and sort of like
that beat just it just hooks you in first.
Well, it's got a good hook. He writes good hooks.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Well, no, even the sample in the beginning, dum dum dum, like that caught my attention from first.
A lot of these tracks really intrigued me as soon as like they started off. It didn't take like the middle of the song to be like, oh wow, this is good, like right off the bat.
And I really like the closer, Life, the Biggest Troll.
That might be my favorite song. That's a really interesting one.
It's so strong, and it's a great flow to that one.
My only somewhat negative, it's not even that negative, it was just a little on the longer side.
What I'll say about it being longer is I think it's divided into segments, and the third segment, the one with the party and no exits, the short one, just has 2 tracks. That one, for me, felt not as good as the 2 before it. And also, the one after that is a bit more experimental, so it felt sort of unnecessary. I think they could have taken that one out musically, because what we haven't even talked about is the concept of this album, like how it came along with a 75-page screenplay, a short film that was a prelude. Dude. What I'll say about the concept is that it's mind-bogglingly stupid. And I try to ignore it as much as possible when listening to the album, because it gets in my way of just enjoying the music and some of the more fun wordplay he comes up with. And that's all I want to say about the concept. It's unbelievably pretentious and stupid, and I have no interest in it at all. But that one in the middle, the party and no exit, that one to me felt like
I agree
wearing its length. And the one after that with Flight of the Navigator and Zealots of Stockholm maybe could have been trimmed a little. I like the more experimental and instrumental parts of that one, the more electronic flavors to it. But the last segment is definitely, I think, the strongest out of the whole album. And, especially in repeated listens, I was kind of, biding my time during those more experimental, sections to try to get to the end. But, I really like this album. When I first heard it, I was like, woo! I really liked it, because I wasn't crazy about his last album, Camp. I thought it was hit and miss a lot. Some good songs, some I didn't like, and I thought his lyrics were much improved on this new one.
Yeah, this is very consistent, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
But definitely because the internet, give it a listen. Yeah, I would give it a 4 out of 5.
I'd
probably give it a 4 out of 5. I think.
And Community's canceled, but he's not. His career.
Actually, wait a minute. Community might be going to like Yahoo or something.
Yeah, Community is, I don't know, floundering around.
Yahoo!
I like the first season. Okay, we're not going to talk about Community right now.
Check it out.
I would definitely
check it out because of the internet.
Yeah. I'm up next, and I'm talking about the album that Dan recommended to me, which is Nilsson Schmilsson.
Yes.
By Harry Nilsson from 1971. Before I talk about the music, I just have to say the album cover is awful. It's a piece of shit. That's all I have to say. It's one of the laziest things I've ever seen. It's just a picture of him.
It's him in a bathrobe.
In a bathrobe. The picture's not even totally in focus.
Yeah. Who is this again?
Harry Nilsson.
Harry Nilsson.
You guys probably don't know a lot of people don't know.
Oh, I know Harry Nilsson.
You do.
I know Harry Nilsson, mostly for his work on movies. He did the soundtrack for the great forgotten Otto Preminger film Skidoo.
Yeah.
And he did the music for Robert Altman's Popeye.
Yep.
Popeye.
That's true.
Which I'll say, both of those soundtracks have their high points and their low points.
Okay.
But, so I was sort of familiar with him. I knew a few of the songs on this album.
He's he was a singer-songwriter. He was big in the early 70s.
Yeah, late 60s,
early 70s. He did the theme for Midnight Cowboy, Everybody's Talking.
Yep.
Which
I like that song.
That's in a bunch of movies. He did you know, you put the lime in the
Which is on this LP.
Yeah. You hear one of the songs, Jump to the Fire, which is on this album, and Goodfellas. It's when Ray Liotta's in the car and there are choppers chasing him. But, this is one of my favorites, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Jarrod has to say about it.
Okay, I'll say the opening track is called Gotta Get Up. It's like 2 minutes long. It's a fantastic Baroque pop opening.
Yes.
It's like I'm sold. I really like this song. I listen after I listen.
It's very Beatley.
Yeah, it's Beatley. It's Baroque. It's got a Beach Boys, early Bee Gees type of sound to it.
Yeah.
If you like that Baroque pop, or even like the Zombies, you'll like this song.
Zombie.
Don't take us on tangents, please.
But go on.
It's got horns on it, some spiffy string instruments, nice shuffling percussion to it. It's a good opener to the album.
Yes.
And after I listened to the LP, I went back, listened to that track again. Unfortunately, that was my favorite song on the album. So it was sort of like a false, sense of excitement. I was like, oh man, I'm going to really like this. And that was my favorite song. After that, you have two songs, Driving Along and Early in the Morning. They're both around 2 minutes too, and they seem really, really half-baked. You got the first one, Driving Along, is very typical of the period pop rock. It sort of just comes and then it ends, and it didn't really make any impact on me. And then the other one is sort of, I'm going to do the blues singer-songwriter thing, and it, like most of the songs on this album, it awkwardly fades out at the end, just as if it's in the middle of the song and they ran out of tape in the studio. He's just singing, and then the next song starts. I'm like, what happened to that song? It just sort of ended without an ending.
Some really bad editing, it sounds like.
And almost all the tracks are like that. And I was like, did the tape run out, or did he run out of ideas? I don't know what happened. The song after that is called the Moonbeam Song. That's a total dud. It's total Beatles worship. It sounds like he's trying to do his version of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds or Because, except way slower, way more boring, way more melancholy and melodramatic and sappy and goofy, and I didn't like that song at all. The one after that was called Down. That one was okay. Horn-based, sort of pop rock.
A little bluesy.
But I don't know. And then the album just keeps going. There's a Badfinger cover on it.
Yeah. His version was the big one, Without You.
Yeah, but that's
It was written by Badfinger.
Yeah. But
fucking Mariah Carey did it in the 90s.
His version is just so syrupy sweet. It's to me it sounded like the precursor to bad 80s AOR power ballads. It was like the forerunner to that. I didn't like it really at all, but I did like the instrumental string and horn feature at the end. That started going. I was like, oh, this is more interesting. Mm-hmm. And then it faded out and ended before I got to sink my teeth into it. Like every other song, it just sort of like ends like it fell off a cliff. And then there's Coconut, which weirdly enough is the catchiest song and the most memorable song on the album, despite the fact that it's so annoying and stupid. I have no problem with it, but it's the third longest song on the album, and it goes on way too long. So most of the songs, they end prematurely. This song went on way too long, which was so weird. And Jump Into the Fire, it's okay, but that one also is too long, because it's really monotonous, and I don't know, it didn't do it for me, because it seemed like it was trying to be like the jam rock, Freebird of the album, the stairway of that album, but there's no great guitar solo, there's no really soaring melody, there's no awesome instrumental breakdown, there's no complex arrangement, there's no progression to it, just sort of chugs along. It just sort of seemed like a live version that was extended than a studio cut. And it fades out at the end. Yeah. It just sort of fades out and ends. Very anticlimactic. It didn't even have a big bombastic ending to sort of, seal the deal and leave you on a positive note. It just sort of, came, it saw, then it quietly left.
Did not conquer.
the whole album as a whole, I didn't find it like unpleasant to listen to, but it felt very half-baked and sort of felt more than an album. It felt like a collection of rarities, or like a compilation album of outtakes, or like when they re-release albums now and they give you like the second disc that has alternate versions, demo versions, like B-sides. It felt like the second disc, and I didn't get the first disc.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it has one live version, one this, one that. It felt like a bunch of things culled together as bonus than the actual album. And I don't know, I like his voice, it's good.
Yeah.
But on this album at least, I didn't find his songwriting very strong. The hooks are very weak. None of them were really catchy in my head afterwards, and I describe it as saying it went in one ear and out the other. It didn't really stay with me, and I only heard it 2 days ago, and I sort of already forget what it sounds like. If I didn't have my notes here, I wouldn't even know any of the song titles. But I did like the first track, Gotta Get Up. I did like that song.
Gotta Get Up.
And I would listen to that one again.
That song.
Yeah, I like that song.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I fail to hear what you really like about it. It didn't grab me.
So what did you like about it? Because you said at the beginning.
I really like. I mean, I don't know. I really like a lot of the Baroque kind of poppy stuff. Like Jarrod said, he has a really great voice, I think. Yeah, I think the Moonbeam song, I could do without that song. But I don't know. Like I like songs like Driving Along, and I'm kind of surprised you didn't like Without You, to be honest, because I think how he does that, it's powerful. Like, I love his voice in that song, and I
found it very melodramatic.
Well,
it wasn't like good enough or strong enough a song or lyrically interesting enough a song for me to buy into the grandiose sort of arrangement and performance of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean, Ben, I think you might like it. I mean,
I'll definitely give it a listen. Like, I'm always up to listening to new things, but I do have to admit, as soon as I saw the album cover, I'm like, this doesn't grab my attention at all. But I'll definitely.
What, like 2.5 out of 5?
I give it a 2.5. Yeah,
I'll give it a listen.
I didn't dislike a lot of the songs, but they sort of came and went. Like I said, seemed like they ended, like the tape ran out. Like, you don't want to be listening to an album and be like, oh, did the tape run out?
Yeah.
Did they run out of time? Did they like throw this together really quick to just release something? It really sounded like a rarities, like a diehard fans collection of little outtakes than an actual album. And it was a very strange experience in that respect. I just, I got disc 2 and I wanted to listen to disc 1 because I did like his voice and I did hear, some promise in it. And some of the songs, sort of had some nice things going on, but they didn't live up to the potential of their style or, his voice.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to say about that. I was sort of disappointed on it. There's nothing as catchy as the title track of Skidoo on here. That's a great song, performed in the movie by Kyle Channing, and one of the most insane endings of any movie ever. I love that fucking song. I love the end of that movie, and I love that movie.
Yeah.
With her singing that and Jackie Gleason playing her husband, wandering around in prison attire going, "Where's God? Where's God?" It's absolutely brilliant. But who
knows? You guys might like this album. I mean, I disagree with Jarrod, but I do get some of what he's saying. But who knows? You might like it. So
it is what it is. But
it's not too long. It's worth a listen if you're interested.
Personally, I'm gonna I'll give it a listen at some point. It's not high up there, but I'll give it a listen. See what happens.
Yeah, it's sort of a lazy Sunday afternoon. It's raining outside and I don't have anything better to do. Pleasant listening. It's not something you'd put on a double bill with 20 jazz funk greats, but
I hope,
because it would be very
that'd be an oddball,
very jarring. That would be a total U-turn. But
interesting.
Yeah, mixed bag. I'd say mixed bag. He tries to do a lot of different styles. Some work better than others.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's all I have to say. But if we're moving along, we're halfway through our little shindig here, and we're going back to Ben with his recommendation from Dan.
So I got recommended the album Juju by Siouxsie and the Banshees.
Jojo.
That came out in 1981. They're a post-punk kind of band. And I really liked this one. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought...
Oh, that's good.
I thought it's a very consistent album. It has...
Most people say that this is their best album.
I can't
reviews and stuff.
I can't say that just because I haven't, as much as I want to get into Siouxsie and the Banshees, I still haven't. So
That's
I'm lazy. But I honestly, just like the last recommendation you gave me, Adam and the Ants, this one makes me want to listen to more of the Banshees because I've always wanted to. I'm like, it's on my list of like
band,
just listen to like a flippin' album, but I never have. And then you finally recommended something for me. I'm like, okay, this gives me more initiative to get into the Banshees. And what I really like is Susie's vocals. I really like her voice. It's like it's like this. It's just like this punky girl's voice, and I really enjoyed listening to her throughout the album.
She doesn't change her accent. You know what I mean?
No, she doesn't. But yeah, this album was really consistent. Even like for some reason, I compared it to last week's Adam and the Ants one. That one was really eclectic, but it got to the point where like
I got what
everything was
though.
weird. But this, like, it all sounded the same. You know what I mean? Like, the songs didn't really differentiate.
It wasn't too all over the place.
Yeah, this one was more. It was more consistent. It was more tight packed. They knew what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
But there was a part of me that just kind of wanted just a bit more, not straying too far off the path from the songs or anything. But I wanted
any standout songs or
best song. Can you guess it? What do you think?
Well, I'm a big fan of the opening track, Spellbound.
That's really good. But what do you think?
I love the 12-string guitars.
Yeah.
And
it's
Halloween is one of my favorites.
You just said that was my favorite song of the album. As soon as it came up, I'm like,
John McGeoch is the guitar player at this time, and he is one of the most underrated rock guitar players.
Really?
He later worked with Johnny Rotten and Public Image Limited, lead singer of Sex Pistols. And yeah, honestly, a really, really tight band.
And you could
Arabian Nights is on that one too.
You could definitely hear his punky guitar come out in this one. It has, even though it all sounds the same, I really enjoyed all the songs.
Arabian Nights, I like that one.
I liked Arabian Nights. The one thing I will say though is the last song, Voodoo Dolly. This is where I was really hoping they'd change it up just for the ending. If anywhere to change up the sound a bit, it would be the ending. It's like 7 minutes long, Voodoo Dolly.
I agree.
Come on. And it just didn't push it anywhere.
That was the disappointment.
It just sounded like most of the album, which is fine to a point, but like I never got much out of it. I was really disappointed with the ending. I'm like, all right, this is where they're gonna really blast it off. 7 minutes long. They could do something with it. It just didn't go anywhere. But overall, I thought it all had a really nice, consistent sound to it. I really loved the guitar work in it. Siouxsie's, I really like her voice. That was like the one thing I started thinking about as soon as I
like the rhythm section too,
or Arabian Nights or something. That's all I could think of. I'm like, wow, I really like her voice. Yeah. So I really dug it. But yeah, I would give this a 4 out of 5. Yeah, it doesn't. The sound is mostly the same thing.
It's almost gothic a little bit.
They're gothic rock, post punk thing. But I don't know. I really enjoyed this. I thought
good. I'm glad.
I really want to get more. I want to get into them more. I've always wanted to, and I love the. I think I have listened to it. The Dear Prudence cover that they do.
Yeah, that's on one of the later albums. That's one with Robert Smith from the Cure.
Oh, really?
He was the guitar player in that band for a little while.
And because Dear Prudence is my favorite Beatles album. So song. But but yeah, I really enjoyed Juju. I give it a 4 out of 5. Definite recommendation on this one. This was a good one.
Jarrod, I think you would like this album. I know I burnt Jarrod a compilation of Siouxsie and the Banshees not too long ago, but this is an album definitely worth listening to.
I like Juju. And I like the album cover too. I can't kind of make it out. It looks like a bunch of 8th or 16th notes going everywhere, and that weird
Yeah.
face idol. I don't know what it is, but
I
it just looks really cool.
You know, I knew I wanted to recommend you a Siouxsie and the Banshees. It was between that and the one before that. I believe it's called Kaleidoscope.
Kaleidoscope, yeah.
Which also has some great songs on, but I figured, why not Juju? Because Spellbound is a standout track by them.
Yeah, that really caught my attention right at the beginning and everything. But yeah, good recommendation. 4 out of 5. Definitely listen to again. Moving on to
Juju.
Dan's recommendation from Jarrod.
Yeah, right on.
So what did he recommend?
Okay, he recommended me Satori. By the Flower Travellin Band. I love that. I love the name of the band.
I know.
The Flower Travellin Band.
It's a very unassuming name for what they actually sound like.
Yes. This album came out in 1971.
Yep.
You know what? I wasn't quite sure what to make of it going into listening to it. I was like, okay, they're from Japan. Okay. I was pleasantly surprised on the album. Nice guitar work.
Yeah.
Nice guitar work.
Very shrill, piercing sort of guitar.
Yep. Some of the riffs at times, I don't know if you thought this, but I certainly did. It was around the same time. The riffs sounded very much like Tony Iommi riffs.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sabbath, and their first album, which came out in 1970, a few months after Sabbath's first album, is a covers album, and they do listen to this track list. They open up. Well, the album is bookended. This is an album called Anywhere. It's their first album. It's bookended by 2 short harmonica-based blues songs. They're like a minute long each. They're both called Anywhere, I think. Then it kicks off with Louisiana Blues by Savoy Brown in a 16-minute long version.
God.
That's smoking. Then they launch into Black Sabbath, the title track from the first album, which it came out a few months after. So it's like, that's really ballsy to do that. They were like right on the money with catching up with Sabbath and with forging their own influence on heavy metal. Then they launch into House of the Rising Sun.
Animals.
A great version of that folk song. And then they do 21st Century Schizoid Man, which doesn't live up to the original. It's a decent version, but they at least jam it out. But what a good selection of songs.
Yeah.
But this album is better, I think.
Every song goes into it's like Satori 1, Satori 2.
Yeah, there's 5 parts. But they all sort of sound different.
They do, but they all flow into each other. It seems like one big pie, so to speak. And every song,
pie, and you eat it one slice at a time.
Yeah, every song is a slice.
So it sounds like it's like the concept of
it sounds like a bunch of blueberries.
That's what. Sure, I love blueberries, but the point is that there's a reason why it's part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and stuff like that. It all fits together pretty well.
And I thought the vocals very Ian Gillan-y almost at times. With
yeah, those parts sound like Ian Gillan, especially on the B side. Jack Bruce sounds a lot like Jack Bruce.
Yeah,
on the B side.
Jack Bruce, very underrated singer, and the harmonica work is also very stood out.
Yep.
Love me some good harp playing. I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was a good album, and everything seemed to flow. And but yeah, I would get or like 3.5, 4 out of 5. Yeah, I definitely recommend it.
I'd give it a strong 4. I really like this album. I got into this band when I went through a period. Not that the period has really ended, but where I was really into Japanese psychedelia.
I was looking at the album beforehand on Wikipedia, and sometimes Wikipedia, the genres that they use to describe albums are just completely false, to be honest.
What did they say for this one?
Well, let me take a guess. I'd probably say heavy psych, psychedelic.
They said acid rock.
Acid rock.
No,
blues.
What I was going to say was
blues and maybe heavy metal.
They didn't say heavy metal, but they said like psychedelic rock, acid rock.
That's what they have.
They didn't. Music. I'm saying that it was accurate for this album, but some albums, it's
definitely.
And artists, the Beastie Boys are punk. Like what? I mean, they have some punky songs, but you know what I mean.
It's could have mentioned someone, but never mind.
He might be listening. But very good recommendations from my two friends. So
Yeah,
Satori
I
with
like-
an I, Satori.
ORI.
Yeah, I like the album quite a bit. I give it a strong 4.
That is like the coolest album cover.
Yeah, it's a cool album
Flipping
cover.
ever.
And yeah, when I got into the Japanese music of that period, you know, this was a standout. This is one that, you know, people would talk about, say it's a classic of that sort of niche. And yeah, it's probably their best album. I like it a lot. You know, definitely a forerunner of heavy metal, along with the early Sabbath and Deep Purple albums.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they, you know, sounded unique for the time. You know, to like, they're more blues based than like Sabbath was, say, with the harmonica playing.
Yeah.
And the, you know, I think Sabbath has harmonica on at least one song on the debut.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they do.
yeah, but this is like, you know, it has a full out blues jam on the B side, and I don't know the
Very gritty guitar.
yeah, gritty, you know, piercing.
A lot of it was
guitar,
wah pedal.
Yep.
There was a lot of wah pedal work.
distorted, and just driving rhythms, and the vocals. I like how the vocals are used on this album because the songs aren't really, you know, vocal songs per se. It's the vocals are used as an instrument along with the rest of the band. You know, they add texture. You know, they sort of are repetitive at times, but it's sort of because they're laying down almost a vocal type beat for the rest of the band. It's not like a vocal feature type album, and that might be because they couldn't speak English very well, but the vocals are in English, so they sort of kept them minimal.
The name of the band is in English.
Yeah, but yeah, I like this album,
Yeah.
and if you're into heavy psych music, if you're into early heavy metal, this is definitely a
I bet if you like
must
early
listen.
Sabbath, you would like it. You know, I I noticed a lot of Tony Iommi bass.
Yeah, especially the one that's on that.
Yeah, it's like a lot of
and
that
the song
kind
that
of
goes ah, is wicked Sabbath. Yeah, but we sing on our other podcast.
I am so intrigued by this.
where Ben sings "Spellbound" by Siouxsie Sue.
No, he only does Bare Naked Ladies songs.
It's true.
Um,
Well, I have to be in the shower when I sing the Bare Naked Ladies.
naked in the shower, like the Bare Naked Ladies when they
Yeah.
sang the naked songs on the albums.
King of Bedside Manor. It's the first one.
He hops in when Hello City starts, and then when Be My Yoko Ono ends, he's just about to wrap it up.
He's all dried off.
Yeah.
Fresh as a baby's bottom. But anyway, we're coming to our last album, which is one that I was recommended from Ben. Interesting recommendation because, like his last recommendation for me, which was Savoy Brown, it's an album by an artist that I really, really like that I just haven't gotten around to. And this is Eric Dolphy, his album from 1960, the October of 1960 album. I have to say that because there's another album he came out with in 1960 that came out in August. So this is the second album from 1960. Or he might have even had one before that. Not a solo album, but
Who knows?
I'm sure there was some Mingus album release that he was on that year. But very prolific during that period. Not necessarily in solo work, but playing on a lot of different people's stuff.
And obviously the very, very, very influential Out for Lunch.
Well, that's 2 years later. That's 64.
Well, yeah, but
But
if anybody knows Beat Bop, well, just crazy jazz like that.
Beat Bop?
Beat Bop?
Beat
Yeah,
Bop!
That's,
Beat Bop!
That's huge.
He doesn't really play bebop too much. It's more, you know, post-bop with the avant-garde jazz, modal influence.
I'll give you that.
But
With a hint of...
this is Eric Dolphy. Eric Dolphy. His
hint of disco.
his album Outward Bound. I'm a big fan of his first solo album that came out earlier in the year called Out There, which has a very weird album cover of a flying cello spaceship and a metronome sitting on a planet. Wild stuff. But this one, the cover, I can't decide whether it's awesome or a piece of shit. I'll have to get back to you on that. I really can't make up my mind right now.
Are you talking about the one where it's like it's the green one where it's his face and because there's another one where it's like he's all purple and everything.
Well, every jazz album has 95 alternate covers.
Right. It's a couple of them.
That's the rule of thumb. This is Outward Bound, Eric Dolphy. I don't like it as much as Out There, but I do like it quite a bit. This is an album that's, you know, all about Eric Dolphy being able to play all these instruments very, very well.
He plays the flute on this, bass clarinet, and sax.
And alto sax. First track, GW, is a standout. I believe he's on alto on that one. You know, sort of, you know, the mission statement of the album. Like, you know, this is slightly off-kilter hard bop. You know, we're, you know, taking Charlie Parker's influence to unknown territories. We're outward bound. Exactly. But I really like that track. But the other standout on the album is a flute track, Glad to Be Unhappy. I really like that one. That's got a very interesting sound to it.
I loved his skill with the flute. That was like that was like the big standout to me. That and Freddie Hubbard's trumpet on this. That was like the two big standouts to me on this.
Yeah, him and Freddie Hubbard they always blend well. Yeah. They always have something good going on between the two.
They can read each other really well, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, listen to Out to Lunch.
Exactly.
Just that's his magnum opus. But these early albums are not as wild as Out to Lunch or some of his later stuff. These are more
approachable.
Yeah, more approachable, more sort of standard if you're into hard bop from the early '60s, or if you like someone like Joe Henderson, or you know, stuff of that period. The Coltrane albums from the early '60s. You'll love this. This is right up your alley. I don't really have much to say about this. Because I've always loved Eric Dolphy. Yeah. I just never got around to this one. There's a few others I haven't heard. Rest in peace, as always. Yeah. He died one of the most senseless and tragic deaths of any musician.
How did he pass away?
Eric Dolphy is, after he recorded Out to Lunch, he's in Europe with his fiancée, who was a ballerina. Mm-hmm. If I get part of this story wrong, you can correct me in the comments, anyone listening, because I'm not reading this off cue cards or anything. I just know this from memory. He had diabetes, and he was in Europe, and he had a diabetes attack or something. You know, he needed
went into shock.
Yeah, diabetes shock. He needed insulin. He needed treatment, and they brought him into the hospital, and they didn't take care of him. They saw him and they said, "Oh, he's a jazz musician. He's OD'd," and they just put him in a room and they said, "Oh, he just needs to wait it out until the drugs come out of his system." And I don't know if he didn't have a card on him that said he was a diabetic, or if they didn't check his wallet or something, and they just put him in a bed and left him there, and he just died. And he was.
There's another one.
He was 30-something?
And there's another one saying that they gave him a shot of insulin, but he went into insulin shock. There's another one like that.
Yeah, they basically just mistreated him because they didn't know he was a diabetic. They just sort of, you know...
Man.
It's a really...
Jump to a conclusion there.
Yeah, it's a really tragic death that really ended his career at a high point. I mean, he had just recorded Out to Lunch a few months before.
It's very sad.
Which is, you know, one of the great jazz recordings.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think about Eric Dolphy a lot. He was a really interesting, you know, player, had a very unique sound. You know, his bass clarinet playing is sublime. Just sublime. And he breaks it out on a few tracks on this album. And, you know, his work with Mingus was always phenomenal. They really blended well, and you know, it's tough to blend with Mingus. But
oh my god, yeah. Well, at least not getting knocked out by.
Yeah, it's hard to not get knocked out by Mingus. I mean, Mingus and Dolphy probably got in a scuffle at least once, or at least Mingus or Dolphy let Mingus, you know, punch his lights out a few times just to get him off his back. I don't think Dolphy was much of a brawling man.
He doesn't look it. He never
He wasn't a Sidney Bechet type, but Mingus certainly was. But yeah, so I'd give this album a 4 out of 5.
Good.
I thought it was strong jazz album. Nothing that really stuck out to me as, you know, the best work of Eric Dolphy.
Yeah.
If you want to hear really great Eric Dolphy, you know, Out to Lunch, like I've said a million times. Yeah. I really like Out There. That one's a bit more I don't know, it's more conventional in a few ways, but it's more unique in a few ways. Lots of bowed bass playing on that album that really gives it a unique sound.
I'd say this and then what it sounds like to you Out There are definitely like the most approachable, because if you look at Out to Lunch, I've played it I remember when I was up at school and I had my music class, my professor played Out to Lunch when we were doing Jazz Week, and when he asked, now who actually liked what I just played? Me and maybe like two others like honestly raised our hands, and everyone was just like, I didn't get it. I thought there was a lot of sounds and it just sounded really weird to me and everything. So I think this is, if he played something like 245 or GW off this, he'd be like, yeah, this I could.
Yeah, it's
maybe
a bit easier to wrap
this.
your head around.
Yeah. But that
he isn't getting on these early albums. He isn't as much into the timbres and the textures of the instruments yet. He's more showing off his technical expertise and his sort of unique approach to jazz improvisation.
Yeah.
On these albums, but I love Hat and Beard off of Out to Lunch that Dolphy wrote to sound like a drunk man walking down the street, and it immediately. That image comes into your mind without fail.
It's the weirdest, the weirdest concept sometimes.
Some of the other albums, like Conversations, is a really good one. That's sort of a crossway between the more conventional sound and the more avant-garde sound. Or Iron Man is a really great one. And again, all his work with Mingus and John Coltrane too. Especially, I really like. I'm not sure if it's a bootleg or if it was ever officially released, but there's an album called Live at Birdland 62 with Dolphy that is, it sounds like a bad bootleg, but it's still absolutely stunning to listen to, because the way those two would play off each other was something special.
It is something special.
But unfortunately, we've come to the end of our show. We've discussed all our albums, which were Throbbing Gristle, 20 Jazz Funk Greats, Childish Gambino, Because the Internet, Harry Nilsson, Nilsson, Siouxsie and the Banshees, Juju, Flower Travellin Band, Satori, and Eric Dolphy, Outward Bound.
And just a replay of what we said, Throbbing Gristle's album, fantastic, outstanding, eerie, dark, ambient, great stuff. Definitely recommend 4 out of 5. Siouxsie and the Banshee, Juju's. Juju.
It's singular.
Sorry, I said that wrong. I give that a 4 out of 5. That was definitely a great, consistent album. We'll definitely listen to more of their stuff. Dan, what did you say about your stuff?
Because the Internet and Satori were both very good. Because the Internet by Childish Gambino, and Satori by Flower Travellin Band, or Flower Travellin Band.
Flower Travellin
Band.
Harry Nilsson, mixed bag. Seemed like a demo album. Didn't seem finished.
But I like it.
Wasn't crazy about it. You might like it more than me. Seemed half-baked. I'd rather skidoo. And Eric Dolphy, Outward Bound. It lives up to the quality you would expect from a man like Eric Dolphy. Before we go, we'd like to say a quick word about Johnny Winter.
Oh, yeah.
Who passed.
2 weeks.
One of the best blues guitar players, period.
2 weeks in a row that we have to say goodbye to 2 big names.
And Elaine Stritch also died today.
Who is that, if I may?
Famous Broadway lady.
No kidding.
Yep. But, Johnny Winter... I don't have much to say, but he'll be missed. He was still touring, He played a show a few nights ago. That was his last, and
how did he die? Cancer?
I don't think we know yet.
Do an autopsy, and we'll let you know.
Yeah,
we're not going to do it, but
I know a few people who have seen him live in the last few years, and they say he looked like a skeleton.
Yeah,
They said he played great, but he looked, very frail and very old, and. I don't know, it's a shame, but
if you like blues, he's definitely high on the list.
Yeah, it might be an incentive for some people to, check out the stuff he did throughout his life. And, rest in peace.
Absolutely.
But that was our show for this week.
We'll be back.
We'll be back at some point.
Hopefully next week.
Do you guys want to do another kind of show like this?
I think this should be the format from now on.
All right. Well, we'll be back with more album picks. We'll be back with album picks.
Answering for everyone.
Volume 3. Maybe we'll. I think we're gonna have to get some crazy recommendations.
We should bring another person in.
Yeah.
Next week, maybe.
But
another one of our.
Maybe
friends.
we'll have a guest, another music aficionado. I also wanted to mention real quick, if I can do a selfless plug. I forgot about it on the last show, and maybe even the one before that.
Do it.
But my new album, Harakiri Ballroom, is out. And if you go to rembrandtrap.bandcamp.com, I believe the link is in the description box. Bandcamp.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh,
You got a fucking problem?
It's not American Pie.
That's what I think of whenever
rembrandtrap.bandcamp.com. It is there, and it is free. You just click buy now, you enter in $0, or you enter in however much you'd like to give me, and no, I would love you to listen to it for free. That's why it's up there. And you can stream the whole thing. If you download it, you get the more full experience. You can put it in your iTunes. You can listen to it uninterrupted. And
you can listen to it while you're working out.
But this is my third rap album under the Rembrandt name. It was an album that means a lot to me. It was a big project, and I'm already brewing ideas for the next one. But this one is out, and along with my other two. And if you like abstract rap, if you like more experimental, more harsh sort of rap, you might like it. And if you do listen to it, shoot me a line. You can contact me here or there or everywhere, and let me know what you thought. And if you liked it, please just share it along. I don't ask for any money, just share it along.
Woo!
Just pass it off to someone else. But do you guys have anything you'd like to plug?
No.
Ben, when's your...
I'm seeing Fleetwood Mac in October.
And I'm seeing the Mavericks next month.
And I'm seeing the Black Keys in Boston Calling in September. So there's that.
Is that the one Childish Gambino is going to be at?
No, I'm going to the Sunday show where Nas and the Roots is going, which is way better, and I can't.
I am so jealous.
And the Replacements.
I am so jealous.
Yeah.
If I could see the Roots, oh man, and Nas.
Get free tickets for Fallon.
I'll sneak it in.
You see them for free.
Yeah, well, it's.
I want to see the Roots live in person with the thought going off, some jams.
Questlove.
I want them to bring back the jams.
I just want to listen to Questlove on percussion. That's all I want.
I know. While we're talking about the Roots, I've been listening to And Then You Shoot Your Cousin some more.
Dude, I listened to What I Got Over when I got
How I Got Over.
How I Got Over.
You love that? I love that track with Jarrod Nilsson on it.
Yeah.
Right on.
Out of what I've listened to, this is probably
Horrible impression.
This is like the most probably one of the more produced albums. I think this is more
that album to me.
This is a bit commercial.
That album disappointed me on initial listens. I like it more the more I hear it. It's to me their indie rock.
Yeah,
like Pitchfork album. I don't know. Like it always strikes me as them like trying to play to the Arcade Fire crowd. I don't know.
Really,
it always strikes me as a more like.
I mean, they got John Legend on there, but like
it just strikes me as a more like streamlined sort of hipster crowd type of album than something like Things Fall Apart or even like Rising Down.
Because like other stuff they put out, like, it's not like other things that they've put out isn't like the most super approachable stuff. Like I would like definitely Undone and Then You Shoot Your Cousin. If that was the first thing that they listened to from the Roots, he'd be like, I don't want to listen to anything else that they put out. But like if they started off with this, they'd be like, okay, I could maybe do this.
For Roots, I would say depending on what your musical background is, what album to start off with. If you're really into hip hop, but you've just never gotten around to them for some weird reason, and you like early 90s boom bop jazz rap, get into their first few albums. Get into Ill Adult Half-Life, Organics, Do You Want More? Those albums will instantly appeal to you. Yeah. If you like, if you're sort of a rap fan, if you're into more commercial rap, How I Got Over is a good starting point.
Yeah.
If you're into more out there sort of experimental stuff, check out either Phrenology or one of the two more recent ones, Undone and Then You Shoot Your Cousin. But yeah, I've been listening to it and Then You Shoot Your Cousin a lot more, and I have to say, it's a really great LP. And for the people who don't like it, I gotta say, not shame on you, but I wish you enjoyed it, because I've really gotten a lot out of it. And I gotta say, we're working on a film project now, and in a perfect world where I had money, the closing credits track to the film would be Understand off of that Roots album. It would be that song. And every time I hear that song, I see the credit sequence in my mind. But we're going on tangents. We're going out there.
You said you asked
like
me,
Eric Dolphy.
You asked me if I wanted to plug something in. You were gonna say.
Yeah. When's your game coming out?
Oh my god! Oh god, we're not even done with it, so I've not a clue.
Well, Ben's gonna have a game coming out at some point, and maybe he'll plug it on the show.
Yeah, I'll talk about it when it's actually
near completion.
Yeah, it's like.
But I put all the links in the description bar underneath. We've been rambling for a while here.
Okay.
This is the part of the show no one will ever listen to. So if you want to say anything, just as a thrill, you can say it now. If you want to give up deep dark secrets and have the pleasure of knowing that they're out there on the internet, but no one will ever listen to them, and this is the part of the show where you put them in. But other than that, we're gonna sign off. I'm Jarrod White.
I'm Ben King, and I shaved today.
I'm Dan Griffin, and I also shaved today.
And I like music, and we'll see you later. This was In Groove. We'll see you next time.
Toodles!
Always.
But darling, you lied to me. Well, I'm willing to forgive you, but that's all behind me.
Impromptu key change.
Yeah, no shit.